How do animals use plants as medicine? In the last section, we talked about non-mammals, birds and insects, and how they use plants for medicine. And in this section, I'd like to talk about mammals. In India, wild boars, for example, that have infestations of intestinal worms will dig up and consume pigweed roots, pigweed, Boerbavia diffusa, which are high in antihelminthic compounds, anti-worm compounds, to treat the worms. And in Mexico, the wild boars do the exact same thing, but instead of using pigweed, which doesn't grow there, they eat pomegranate roots, and the pomegranate roots have identical chemical compounds to the pigweed rather. So the animals are seeking out the exact same types of chemicals in different plants. And we've all seen dogs intentionally eat grass at certain times. Often they will separate a particular grass out from other types of grass and only eat that particular type of grass. Dogs will alter their choice of grasses depending on the condition. One of dogs' favorite grasses is known as quack grass. Quack grass. And quack grass regulates the gastrointestinal tract. It helps soothe and preserve mucous membranes, and also can help with kidney function and possesses antimicrobial and antibacterial properties. A researcher in East Africa described following a pregnant elephant around for nearly a year during the whole entire pregnancy, observing her diet and behavior. And the diet was remarkably consistent for nearly a year. And then right before giving birth, the elephant, she traveled over 28 miles to seek out one very specific tree and consumed large amounts of its leaves and bark. Shortly thereafter, her contractions began, and she gave birth to a healthy baby elephant. This particular tree is commonly used by Kenyan women and healers to facilitate childbirth. And we see this in other animals. For example, in primates, Sifaka females do not eat plants that contain tannins. They avoid them. We talked about this in a previous section. However, shortly before childbirth, these primates will specifically seek out herbs that are high in tannins. And if you remember from the previous section, tannins can act as a styptic to prevent bleeding and also can help heal the vaginal tissue after childbirth. Chimpanzees, when suffering from intestinal parasites, will choose specific plants depending on the nature of the parasite. To kill and stop schistosome parasites, they seek out and ingest the pith of Veronia, which contains potent chemicals, including sesquiterpene lactones and steroidal glycosides. And it is the steroidal glycosides that suppress the mobility of the parasites. It slows the parasites' ability to move, and it also slows their egg-laying processes. So this helps reduce the worm population in their digestive tract. Interestingly, the chimps do something that I think is really cool about this particular plant that they are ingesting, is they pick out the piths that have the lowest amount of sesquiterpene lactones and the highest amount of glycosides. So they're being very specific about which piths of which particular plant they are using. And they use this as a type of intelligence to increase the effectiveness and decrease the toxicities of the medication that they are using to treat their worm infestations. And if the parasites are different, the chimps will seek out completely different types of plants. For example, in the case of an esophageal or stomach parasites, the chimps will choose a very bristly, rough-haired leaf from Aspilla, the Aspilla plant, and these leaves have high levels of something called thiarubrine, which is a sulfur-containing chemical that is active against a wide variety of intestinal worms that commonly affect chimps. And the chimps will actually test the leaves. They'll put the leaves in their mouth and they'll suck on the leaf for an extended period of time before deciding, does this leaf have the chemicals in it that are needed or not? And if so, they'll continue to eat from that plant, or they will go and they will choose a different plant. And additionally, they don't chew the leaves, they fold them. And so because they're folded and not chewed, the thiarubrine does not break down in the stomach, so it remains an effective medicine. And the chimps also take these herbs early in the morning before they begin feeding, so that the leaves can be the first thing that pass through the digestive tract unencumbered by other food. For a different type of worms, Caenorhabditis worms, the chimps will swallow the leaves of the ficus tree whole, also early in the morning. And they only choose the young leaves. They don't choose the older leaves because the young leaves have higher levels of the particular chemicals that they are looking for to treat the infestation. And sometimes the chimps will even chew these leaves and rub that on their fur to prevent skin parasites. Another raccoon-like animal, South American coati, will rub resin from a particular tree, Tratanicia aspera tree, and rub it on their fur also to protect from parasites. Capuchin monkeys will eat 6 different types of plants for the same purpose, and the capuchins will also seek water that comes from the rain, goes over the trees and the bark, and it collects in between the junctions where the tree limbs meet the trunk. And so they're actually getting a tea from the rain and the tree, and they will take this water and they will use it to bathe themselves to help prevent and clear parasites, like an herbal wash. Bears do something similar with osha root. Osha root in certain Plains Indian languages is known as bear medicine. And all the way down South and Central America, the Aztecs also call osha root bear medicine. I find that interesting. And what happens is the bears, after hibernation, the males will go out and dig up the osha root, eat the osha root, and they will also make a paste with their mouth, which they will rub and roll over their fur to help get rid of parasites that have collected over the winter, shall we say. And they're also a little bit chivalrous because the males will bring osha root back for the females and will also chew and apply that to the female's fur. And even before Homo sapiens, hominids, human-like creatures, including Neanderthals, which we now know have had a fairly advanced civilization. We've found medicinal plants in caves dating back tens of thousands of years. And in human records, over the last 6,000 years, we have instances of tens of thousands of different plants being used for human consumption as medicine. So people like insects, bears, butterflies, dogs, elephants, we all have been using plants as medicine for a long time. I'm Dr. Jake Felice. I love making these videos. Please feel free to like, comment, subscribe. And if you enjoy what I'm doing and want to buy me a coffee, I'd really appreciate it. I do these out of the sheer love of it. And you can find me and all of my work and videos at sweetwaterholistic.com. Thank you so much for listening.